Howdy everybody, welcome back to the Chip and Dale tutorial. So now that we've gotten through putting in the hardest code in our game, the main character, we'd like to continue to flesh out our game world by adding in some ancillary game objects that will help us to have more options and do more things with our characters. So today we will put in the pause object. So let's get cracking. Alright, so to get started, we are going to want to create a pause object. Under game object, create object, object underscore pause. And let me pull open the code here. It's actually very, very simple because the pause object does almost nothing. It's mostly just exists to direct other characters and objects in the game that the game has been paused. So we stop sound, audio underscore group underscore stop underscore all, effects. So if the characters are currently throwing and it's supposed to make an throw sound, it just kills it because that's the way it's handled. And it probably is just good to do it that way. And after we kill all the effects, we audio underscore pause underscore all. So that would stop the music. And play pause sound. Audio underscore play underscore sound. Sound underscore pause. And one up, one false. And we are also going to throw in a destroy event. So when we destroy this, we need to reactivate the sound. Audio underscore resume underscore all. And audio underscore play underscore sound, the pause sound again. Pause underscore and one up, one false. So what objects are going to be affected by this code? We'll have to come back to our player object here. In the step event specifically, let me pull the code over here. So currently we have our step event starting with executing our player state. And then it goes on to do everything else as well. But we want to short circuit all that if we are going to pause. So pause before anything else. And if start underscore input, do X. And if select underscore input, do Y. Because we have two different ways to pause. We can pause, which just stops the game, or we can pause to pull up the stats menu, which will pull up the stats menu. So if not instance underscore exist, object underscore pause, then create that object, else instance underscore destroy that object. There we go. And we have kind of the same thing here, except instead of pausing, we create object inventory, which we will create in a second. And last but not least, if, well, I'm just going to copy this again because there we go. If instance exists object pause, object inventory, or object wind fanfare, then image underscore speed is equal to 0, so we don't animate, and exit. There we go. That takes care of pausing, I believe. And let's just check over all of our other character stuff, make sure that we haven't left anything out. Check if I touch an enemy. Okay, yeah, we haven't added enemies yet. We'll do that later on. But first, we need to add in object wind fanfare, which we'll just add in, but it won't actually do anything right now. We just want it to not... we don't want it to error when it tries to check for the object, whether it exists or not. We'll bother putting it in when we put in the boss. And also we need to put in our object inventory. There we go. All those go into the game objects. And when we create, we pull a couple of, prep a couple of variables. GUI underscore width is equal to display underscore get underscore GUI underscore width, and GUI underscore height is equal to display underscore get underscore GUI underscore height, and add a draw GUI end event. Main reason why we do draw GUI end is because in the draw GUI event we're drawing the player's health and their name and initial and stuff. So if we use draw GUI end, that will cover up all that. Alright, so we are going to need to check for multiplayer mode, and that should be good. So this should be fairly simple. Start with player 1 stats and player 2 stats, and this will be useful for multiplayer mode if you have that. So draw set color black, and this will draw a rectangle across the GUI, black rectangle. Sprite portrait underscore chip 07288. And draw underscore set color C underscore white. This would be for our text. That thing always surprises me. You'd think I remember by now. So we have the character. So we choose which one of our character names to display depending on what character we chose. Draw text at 72, and these are all just arbitrary pixels that I determined after trial and error where they should be on the screen for best results. And just pull the information from our object stats about what our character stats are. And same thing again, except for the second player. If you have 2 players, then draw a second player. Alright, that should be everything we need to be able to pause. So let's give it a try here. Alright. Jumping. Throw around the boxes. Press enter. We are paused. We can't move. So let's press. There we go. Press shift. Says our flowers are 0, our stars are 0, and we have 2 lives. As you can see, we are paused. Alright. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. We are going to continue with this and put in some stuff to help us with our camera and put in a door so that we can get to our boss. And of course, put in some enemies so that we can have enemies in our world. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining me, and good luck with your programming.